What is up, everybody? Matt Moda here to give you some bangers for Monday Night Football. We got Falcons versus Eagles. Monday Night Football. I'm going to have two NFL player props for you guys to lock in for this game, both of which, of course, are of the plus money banger variety because that is how we do things on this YouTube channel. Pretty good so far. Good start to the season. As you can see, the week one results. I'm updating these week over week because it gets confusing with the different days. So just going week one, week two at a time. Week one was really, really good for us. So let's hope we can keep that up in week two. Of course, let's hope we're having an amazing week two whenever you are watching this video. I would appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button. If you are new to my channel, I would also appreciate it if you could like and comment on this specific video. And then the last thing I will mention before we get into the bangers is that I do have a Dub Club where I send all my plays out. $5 a month gets everything that I'm playing sent directly to your phone via text, email, or Telegram. So if you are interested in that, go ahead and check that out. Link is in the description of the video as well as the pinned comment. If you're not interested in that, no problem. You can still get everything for free on YouTube and or Twitter, which you can follow me at Jedi Modai. And let's start talking bangers. So the first play that I'm going to go ahead and lock in here is Bejan Robinson, 5+ receptions, plus 116 odds at FanDuel. I'm putting 1 unit on this play, and I would play it up to, or I guess I should say down to plus 108. So one thing that I am doing, if you're new to my channel, is I'm giving you the odds that I send it out to Dub Club and the odds that I bet it at and the odds that are currently the best offer price. But I'm also telling you what I would bet it to, because the unfortunate reality is these lines are constantly changing, and online that I got that you can't get isn't necessarily helpful. That's why I have the Dub Club where I send everything out immediately, so you can absolutely get everything I'm betting when I'm betting, or I can tell you the play to number so you're still able to lock stuff in up to what I would play it at. As for the play itself, I will admit I'm a little bit worried that this might be a super square play after what we saw from the Falcons offense last week. But speaking of that offense, unless something major changes either with Kirk Cousins and his health, or Kirk Cousins and how healthy Kirk Cousins feels about his body, it's hard for me to find a scenario in which he does not check the ball down just a million times, kind of like he did last week. Week one, Kirk Cousins was the only quarterback to not attempt a pass that was beyond 20 air yards. And the offense looked like that. You watch highlights of that game, everything was short, and they didn't even bother doing anything deep. It was just a bog condensed offense, which is why they only scored 10 points and why they looked terrible. In that game, Bejan Robinson had 5 receptions on 5 targets for 43 yards. He led the Falcons in receptions, and he was second on the Falcons in both targets and receiving yards. Somehow, Ray McLeod led the Falcons both in targets and receiving yards. That's not something that's going to happen week over week. So the guess of what's going to happen in week two, I'm guessing that the Falcons are at least going to try to open it up a little bit. They're going to have more deep routes than they had last week. I don't necessarily think that Kirk Cousins is going to be able to throw or even want to attempt those routes. I mean, he got the ball, he stood there, and he passed it to Bejan Robinson, to Raymond McLeod, or even Kyle Pitts had a couple plays. They didn't run a single play action pass. He's just not confident in his body. So I don't believe that he's going to be significantly healthier than he was last week, or at least feel significantly more confident than he felt last week. So I think that he's just going to be checking it down a million times. He might try to take like one deep shot to Drake London, but I think that the scheme of the offense is going to be that they're going to try to open stuff up. But I just think that when it gets down to it, he's just going to want to check it down to Bejan Robinson. Another point in this favor is Bejan Robinson is taking basically all the snaps at the running back position. Last week, he took 89% of the snaps. Gone is Arthur Smith and his ridiculous notion to not play his best players. That we should be able to see Bejan, obviously barring injury, at 90% snap share week over week. That's something that should continue. This Falcons head coach, Raheem Morris, granted he's on the defensive side, but the Falcons head coach and their offensive coordinator, the coaching tree of the Falcons comes from the McVay and Shanahan coaching tree, which is a one-back system. They don't like to rotate running backs. So we're not worried about that. And the Eagles, they're probably going to sell out to make sure that he doesn't beat them in the run game. And then they're going to have the checkdowns bottled up. They'll probably allow those receptions because, a 2-yard pass isn't going to hurt you. But I don't think they're going to let him get a lot of yards after the catch. I think that this is that's the reason why we are on the receptions as a play as opposed to the yards as a play. That's play number 1. Play number 2, I'm taking Dallas Goddard anytime touchdown, plus 300 odds at Caesars is what I was able to get this at. I'm only putting a half unit on this bad boy, and I would play this down to plus 275. Now, I will admit, part of this play on Dallas Goddard, there's not a ton. I'm normally, when you watch my YouTube videos, a lot of it is routed in data and analysis. This is more of a dart throw type of play. I'm not going to say based on feel, because it's not. It's kind of based on, it's a dart throw based on what we saw last year, and it requires a little bit of leap of faith is what I was looking for. And I'll be honest, I was on Dallas Goddard before the A.J. Brown news. That just makes me like it even more, because obviously that takes away a massive target for the Eagles. Luckily, I did check the odds, no movement there, so you're able to get the same price that I was able to get it at. And the people in the Dub Club can confirm that I was on this play before the A.J. Brown news. But as for the play itself, it's been a weird last year for Dallas Goddard. He was awesome. He missed a couple games, but he was awesome 2 seasons ago, the year the Eagles went to the Super Bowl. Really was not awesome last year. Now, he didn't physically look any different. The biggest difference was just how he was used and how the Eagles were able to get the ball in his hands. In 22, the Eagles very creatively got the ball in Goddard's hands with a lot of space. He's a really good runner after the catch. He's not like Zach Ertz, who's really good at getting open and then immediately falls down. Goddard is really good at getting yards after the catch. So 22, Eagles used him on a ton of tight end screens, a lot of bubble routes, stuff to get him the ball in space. Last year, the Eagles offense was very uncreative, and a lot of the role for Dallas Goddard changed. So all the data I'm giving you is not going to look great for Goddard based on last week and also based on last year. Last year, he only scored 4 touchdowns, including the playoffs. Now, he also scored 4 touchdowns the year prior, but the difference is he had 702 receiving yards in 22, and he only had 593 last year. In 2022, he averaged 12.8 yards per reception. That's a crazy number for a tight end. Last year, the number went down to 10, which is still a good number, but it's worse than it was 2 years ago, and it felt a lot worse than that. He had games, Dallas Goddard, last year against the Vikings, 6 receptions for 22 yards. Just a disgusting performance. But the saving grace here, and why we are on this play, the best game of the season that Dallas Goddard had last year was against the Rams. He had 8 receptions. That was the most he's had in the last 20 games. 8 receptions, the most he's had in the last 20 games. He had 117 receiving yards, also the most he's had in the last 20 games. And he scored a touchdown in that game as well. It was the only game, actually, that he's gone over 100 yards in the last 20 games. He had 117. And again, he scored a touchdown. Last year, the Rams allowed 8 touchdowns to tight ends. That tied them with the second most touchdowns allowed to tight ends in the NFL. Why are we bringing up stats for the Rams and how they allowed, what they allowed against tight ends last year? Because last year's defensive coordinator for the Rams was Raheem Morris. Raheem Morris is now the head coach of the Falcons running his defense, and he brought over Jimmy Lake. Now, I get the personnel is way different. The Falcons personnel is not the Rams personnel, but the Eagles went into that game against the Rams with a very, very clear game plan to heavily focus on Dallas Goddard. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith were all healthy for that game. And the guess here is that the defense, if the defensive system is being run the same, which it's supposed to be, that they're going to do the same thing heading into this week as well. Now, the Falcons safeties are different, but a lot of issues that teams have guarding tight ends, it's not necessarily personnel, it's scheme related. It's what they decide to give up. And we only have 1 week of data. I'm not really going off of anything in that Falcons-Steelers game last week, because Justin Fields could not do anything passing the ball, and the Steelers didn't even bother. They didn't score an offensive touchdown last week, not because the Falcons defense was amazing, but because the Steelers offense was terrible, and they also didn't really bother doing anything. So again, it's a leap of faith type of dart throw, but I do think that it's worth putting a half unit on Dallas Goddard to score a touchdown in this game. We're getting plus 300 odds, which is really, really good on an anytime touchdown. It's like, normally the touchdowns I play are in the 100 number, plus 100, or I'll even dabble a little bit into the minus money. This is a larger type of play in terms of odds, which is also why I'm only putting a half unit on as opposed to a full unit. But that's all we got Bejan Robinson, 5+ receptions. Dallas Goddard, anytime touchdown. My 2 plays for Monday Night Football. If you're rocking with me, make sure to like the video. Make sure to comment and let me know. Let me know plays that you like for this game as well. I love reading through all of the comments and responding to as many as I can. Make sure to subscribe. Check out the Dub Club if you are interested. And have a good one.